on. So by the time I've read this statement, it'll be time for the meeting to start. Are we ready?
It's gonna be time to go home.
So this meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Biddulph Town Council YouTube page. The aim is that decision making should be transparent and in the public domain, which will involve more of our community and local democracy. By being in this council chamber, you are consenting to being recorded and for your image to be added to YouTube. The images and sounds may be used for training purposes. Any views expressed are the speaker's own and do not necessarily reflect the view of Biddulph Town Council. Please view the guidance on recording in public meetings policy if you require more information. Oakley. Do we have any apologies, Sarah?
We don't.
And no substitute members therefore, so that's 19 done. Do we have any declarations of interest, pecuniary interests or dispensations? I do, in that there's an item later on at the agenda concerning Staffordshire University of Staffordshire, and I am employed. Are there any other interests? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry, I just give you a rewind to apologies. I'm not on this committee, but I might have to duck out really, so apologies, I'm not because I'm bored. Because I've got a message and I've got it.
We'll take personal best. Do we have any other interests? No, hopefully, done. Right, sign the minutes of the Town and Community Committee held on the Tuesday, the 15th of July. They've been through Town Council, so I'll put my signature on those, bear with. Sorry. Thank you. Received the notes from Biddulph Works Together meeting held on Wednesday, 3rd September. We'll just have a quick look through those. So we've got item 1, declarations of interest. 2, apologies. 3, to receive the notes. 4, update from members. 5, a specification for the logo. And 6, plans for 25-26, and 7, next meeting. Is everyone okay to approve those? All in favour? Item requested by Councillor Yates, alleviating fly tipping and litter at lay-bys on the Congleton Road, Mao. Councillor Yates.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is really to just get the Town Council and the committee updated with issues which have been going on Congleton Road, Mowcott, respectively, ones from the top of Mow Lane to the top of Towell Road. There's been a high number of incidents with car cruising and unauthorised car meets. This is something where, usually with high-powered and very noisy cars and vehicles and whatever, this is something which originally started happening on the A34 south of Trentham on the dual carriageway. Then there's been issues on the Festival Park, and there's been issues within the A34 and around Chester and at Newcastle and various places. And both Stoke-on-Trent and Newcastle-on-the-Lyme have put public space protection orders on, which may alleviate a problem in a particular area, but it's like squeezing a balloon. And it does seem that there's been a degree of migration, alleged migration from the Newcastle area to the Mowcott area, because you're looking at a relatively straight road, relatively interesting views, and quite a number of easy meet and greet and disappear off if somebody comes snipping around parking spaces, which are certainly the one large lay-by there opposite the exit Mow Lane moving towards Mowcott, and 2 smaller lay-bys which over the years have got ever bigger and bigger as people park there. It's potentially getting to the stage where a public space protection order is being requested by Cheshire East, because as it happens, the road is in Staffordshire, the lay-bys, the verge on the western flank is in Cheshire East. It's in Ashby Price. So one of the more draconian measures which they can do is put a public space protection order there and close those laybys. Because not only are you having the car meets and the racing round and the noise and the revving, but you're obviously getting takeaways and litter and drinks, and nobody respects the fact that the litter bins are full and takes the litter home, and it's absolutely driving the residents up there mad. And just put it into context, I live, as everybody knows, just on Biddulph West within the town area. My bathroom window, if it's open, is facing Mount Cop, and all I can hear at 11 o'clock at night most nights is engines revving and whoosh, 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 whoosh. So what it must be like if you live close to the vicinity, I absolutely don't know. Now, Staffordshire Police have stepped up. They have warned a number of vehicles, and they have actually confiscated a vehicle with a view to crushing it and whatever, because it's not street legal and breaking, after repeated warnings and things. But the problem just isn't going away. So there is an element of potentially needing to do some quite draconian action. And one of the things, which, as much as it's Cheshire East, one of the things which I'm concerned about is when it comes to looking at for comets, when it comes to looking for Northern Lights, when it comes to looking for various things, that's where everybody goes in Biddulph, and it's amenity which will be lost because it's been abused by a few nuisance drivers. Now, I went to Asper Town Council to make a bit of a presentation on the issues and problems. They were very much aware of it, which was very good. And one of the things which we're potentially looking at is restricting the ease of access to those laybys, so you can still potentially use them, but it requires a bit more of a proper manoeuvre and a proper give way. So if somebody's using it for the wrong kind of activities, they can't see lights in the distance and just disappear like that, if you know what I mean, to make it a little bit more awkward. But I think it will be a sad day for an amenity in Biddulph if those laybys have to be closed, whether it's short term or longer term. But it's just really to highlight the issues which we've got.
Thank you very much, Councillor Garvey.
Thank you. Councillor Yates, are we considering a PSPO ourselves from the district?
We are, and Cheshire East are, as I said, Cheshire East are as well. The threshold for a PSPO means that there have to be a number of instances which are met. And talking to the community safety team at Staffordshire Moorlands, there are a couple of other sort of related issues which we're having in the wider Staffordshire Moorlands. There's issues around the stepping stones at Dovedale, where at night people drive up there and it's supposed to be no access to vehicles. And there's been issues at various other places. Marsh's Hill was mentioned at Brown Edge, where people meet and greet and do similar things. So it's a case of getting all the evidence together, looking at the number of instances and seeing if it meets the threshold, and potentially that would help to alleviate the problem. Yeah, but the issue is what you've got to remember with the public space protection order and looking at instances relating to lay-by don't get logged at Staffordshire Moorlands, they get logged at Cheshire East. So you could have a high enough threshold for the instances, but because they share between two authorities, it doesn't meet either, so to speak.
Let's come back on that. So is there not a sort of coordinated response then to actually take all of the incidents into account, irrespective of which side of the millimetre wide boundary between ourselves and Cheshire East?
One would hope so.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Yates, you've got two hats in a sense, have you? Town council and district
Council, yes.
Do our county councils have any involvement in this, may I ask?
No, I don't think so. They would have an interest. As if I was a county councillor, I would have an interest, and I would be making sure if I was talking to the police and I would be liaising with ward councils to see if there's anything which they can do. But the highway itself, they're responsible for the maintenance of the highway. Community safety falls within the remit of the Staffordshire Moorlands, so it is a little bit different. But of course, they can report it and they can engage, and they can throw their weight and gravitas behind it with having the position of county council, definitely.
Councillor Rogers.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, as you say, Staffordshire Police have opted in the game a little bit. What about Cheshire Police? What involvement are they having?
Yes, Cheshire Police are aware, but technically speaking, they would have to come into Staffordshire to police part of Cheshire East. So they've been well involved on the Ganny Bank side of Mile Lane, because there's obviously lay-bys there, and there has been a little bit of displacement when Staffordshire Police are around for going there, anecdotally, and that is one of the concerns over in Cheshire East, is that you just move the issue down the hill. I don't think that's quite the case, because one of the things, if anybody who knows Congton Road, Mount Cobb, it is absolutely straight. You've got fantastic lines of sight. So for doing a short drag race just to impress people on how fast you can speed up isn't quite the same going down Ganny Bank, is it?
No, but regarding the come on ours to get onto Cheshire, we've also got a patch where you have to go to Chester to get onto Staffordshire, so that doesn't matter.
Absolutely, and they are involved. There is, I have to say, shout out for Staffordshire Moors, the community safety team, and the police, and Newcastle on the Line. They've really engaged and really been involved. It's actually been quite gratifying that they have absolutely engaged to the level which they have. They fully understand the issues and they're putting it right. As have Cheshire East, as have Asbury Parish Council. They've absolutely taken it on board.
Right, thank you very much for bringing it to our attention. If you could bring it back to this committee, if you get any updates, we'd be very grateful. And perhaps if we could pop something on social media just to make sure that it has been brought to our attention, and we've got a Councillor Yates, that's involved and is kind of working on it from our perspective, kind of being the liaison. That would be good, because I think you're absolutely right. My bathroom window backs onto Alcop and you can hear it. So.
And just point of information, the reason I'm so involved in it is that, one, I'm obviously a district ward councillor, but secondly, my portfolio covers the environment, and the road environment covers littering and fly tipping as well as pollution. So it does cover that aspect.
Thank you very much. Okay, next item on the agenda is from Councillor Kasiki to receive an update on changes to telegraph poles around the town, sharing information from a range of councillors to determine whether there is any action for the town council. I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, I understand we don't have any powers to object to these telegraph poles being introduced. But obviously there are areas of the town that have been developed over many years where there are no wires, because all the utilities and the cables are underground. So it seems a bit of a low-tech solution to upgrade to 5G by installing telegraph poles and wires in areas that previously haven't had any. So what I'm asking is whether it is possible we could contact BT Openreach as to whether they have any other options that don't involve installing telegraph poles and wires.
Very much. Have you got any information on this, Sarah, that you want to bring?
Only from a personal perspective.
Do you want to come in and then?
Yes, there's a brand new telegraph pole outside my house, despite the fact that I submitted an objection to it and haven't had any response to the objection.
Okay.
There's a brand new one. So I think for a
Did you
communication.
an acknowledgement?
Yes. So for a communications company, I'm personally, and this is not the view of town council, think communications is rubbish.
Okay. I've got Councillor Rogers and Councillor Gates. Mr. Mayor, are you? Okay, Councillor Rogers, Councillor Garvey.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I can understand people's concerns. I've seen some of these newish, not new, but newish estates in the Gallery area. Telegraph poles being bound up here, there and everywhere. And now it looks like it's going to be Dorset Drive. Now, I may be wrong, but I'm sure there's underground piping in the Dorset Drive area that could be used. I know it's costly, expensive to dig the footpaths up and put pipe work in. I think if the pipe work's already there, it's only one very small cable. The optic cable is only very small, to be quite honest. You haven't got a great big pipe. Well, it's just a quick get out it. I spoke to one of the workmen a few weeks ago, and I said, I'm not going to you personally, but people are really objecting about all the telegraph poles and cables going up everywhere. And he says, well, when they realise how good it is, they normally go quiet. And it's a horrible answer to the question, really. So
that's why he's not paid as a communications officer. But
yeah. All right, so we're going all down the high street then by the sounds of it as well, the way we're going. Because we want 5G in the high street. So they're going, put telegraph poles all down the high street at this rate, aren't they?
So we're not happy. Thank you very much, councillor Rogers. Councillor Yates.
Yes, a couple of things. Firstly, general planning permission is not required to put up telegraph poles. The installation, replacement, alterations from communication infrastructure is covered by development rights. And it goes on, so that they are fully committed to do. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. I don't like it against it. We've got exactly the same issues. A couple of things. Basically, if there's a channel in the road, in the pavement and under the pavement, doesn't mean that the companies have their own access to it. It might be owned by a different private company. This is another one of those unintended laws of privatisation, and they can't always share. The space isn't always there. But more importantly, it's not actually the problem with the pavements in some cases. What these poles are doing, and I'm only saying because I've put complaints into the planning and I've had long conversations to the head of planning and development services, Ben Hayward, on this. We really have gone backwards and forwards because I've been lobbied by so many residents. It's these posts are supplying the houses in the old-fashioned way. And it's to get full fibre to the houses, whereas the current fibre, because I'm allegedly on fibre, but my last 10 metres is copper between the conduit and my house. It's to say digging up driveways, removing hedgerows, digging up lawns and patios in people's houses. So you're having a cable in the old-fashioned way. So you might have an instance, and you will see them, where there's these telegraph poles sticking up, but the only cables coming from them are going to houses. They're not actually connecting cables to them in the old-fashioned way where you used to see electric cables connected cable to cable. So there is a bit of a misnomer that it saves, in all cases, that it saves digging up the pavement. Generally speaking, this fibre is already in the pavement and already in the green boxes. This is the final bit from that, in most instances, from that pole to the house, not to the pole, then to the house. So just have a little look out on that. Not saying it's the exception which breaks the rule. Don't shoot the messenger. I've had some really real in-depth conversations with residents. I've had a resident on the phone for an hour.
Can I reply
And say this.
I've seen about pole to pole to pole to pole.
Through the chair.
Sorry, sorry.
Sorry, what were you going to say, councillor
The
Rogers?
ones I've seen have gone pole to pole to pole to pole.
Yeah.
Ones I've seen.
Thank you. Right, Mr. Mayor.
I've looked into this matter too, and I've seen in Gillow Heath the daisy chaining of supply from one pole to another, as well as radiating from each pole to adjacent properties. Live in Hayden Park, which from its outset, the Hayden Park's actually got a little bit at the bottom end of Dorset Drive that was actually developed a bit earlier by another developer. Those which have got the county names, Devon Grove, Norfolk Grove, and that's how Dorset Drive has actually got a county name, because that's where the development started. They've always had overhead supply, and they've got overhead supply now. So when we're speaking of the Hayden Park, we're speaking of the majority, though not all, of Dorset Drive and the side roads thereof. And that development by, I remember it was Fletcher's Builders at the time, came under obviously new regulations, because there was underground cables supplied to all properties from day one. And now the notices have gone up, and strangely, within that area that was developed by Fletcher's, there's a couple of roads, Cooper's Way and Forester Close, where there are no notices. And all roads around, but I don't know why.
Can I ask what you mean by notices? Have they notified, they've stuck things onto
lampposts.
Right, okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And the notice indicates where they intend to put a post, and it gives a reference number, and it gives details of how to complain.
Do anything with the.
See?
And take
And
a photo of the QR code.
yes, and it shows how to complain. And I've spoken to a number of my neighbouring residents and other individuals I know, because obviously I'm not a representative of West Ward resident. And, you know, with the exception of one, all have followed my suggestion that they heeded what the notice said and made individual complaints. Because to Openreach. So it sounds like Openreach under this system, as the supplier, is by law judge and jury in the case. And another drawback of this is that Openreach will also be counting the number of objections. One could be cynical and say, how reliable will their published total be? Or any other supply for that matter.
Thank you.
So I've done this you know, obviously I've made an objection myself, both on behalf of the immediate notice by my house and also as a town councillor saying I was aware of other roads in the district which were affected.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, this came yesterday. Some local residents, I don't know who, are suggesting a petition. I don't know if that's an effective way to go, bearing in mind the instructions that you've got as to how to complain. But there we are, and that's the position at the moment.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Garvey, have you got anything new to add?
Only actually, yes, I mean, thank you, Chair. I too, like Councillor Yates, have had a number of complaints. I've had the same conversations with the planning department. And essentially, there appears to be little that we as a body can do. However, residents themselves can complain. And I think this again was brought to attention by Councillor Lordmost, the Mayor, that there is a statement in the paperwork that they send out saying that there's no right to object where the apparatus is a replacement and new apparatus is not significantly different to the previous apparatus, which implies that if it is significantly different, as it is in a number of these cases, thinking of Long Valley Road and the Marsh Green area, then there is a right to complain. Potentially a bit of new information is that I've had complaints from residents who've had telegraph poles installed on their land without permission, and it's quite, having to talk to the planning department and your enforcement officers, if anything has been erected on your land without your permission, then it's a civil case, but it should be removed. It can be removed.
Okay.
So again, that's just an additional bit of information that people may or may not be aware of. But that is a very clear-cut case. If it's actually on private land, it needs to have the permission of the landowner.
Thank you. Councillor Redfern.
Thank you. Very much along the lines that our three councils have said. We don't really have any powers to do anything about it. It was all brought about because obviously there was a great fear at one time that when we were going over to new computer systems, we needed the information highway and everything else, but they didn't want that to get bogged down in planning and say for when they used to, well, they still do put the telegraph pole up. And I've certainly heard of complaints, particularly from Conway Road, but it'll affect other areas as well. And the problem with the underground cabling is it was put in originally for cable television, which never really took off in a big way. Obviously, quickly got superseded by other forms of television. And the problem is the company that put those in has gone bankrupt. So who actually owns them is anybody's guess now. Because it was NINEX who put them in, and very shortly after they put them in, they declared themselves bankrupt, thereby making sure they would not have to fulfil their liabilities to repair pavements and other such things to a certain standard. So they just declared themselves bankrupt so they could get out of any liabilities that may have arisen from their work.
Thank you. Councillor Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm not on this committee, but thank you for allowing me to speak. Councillor Evans just answered my question, I think, because it's about 25 years ago, I think, that NINEX they cabled up every house in Biddulph. They didn't do Biddulph more, but they did pretty much every house in Biddulph. You've got triangular grids outside every house. I'm just puzzled as to why for 5G mobile phone or 5G networks, we need cables anyway. But anyway.
If I may, I think the answer to that is
Through the chair.
Sorry, through the chair, if I may, Virgin own it. And that's the thing, not BT.
Okay, all right, okay. But surely if the houses are already supplied by overhead wires, which mine is, and I happen to have a telegraph pole in my front garden, which I don't get any rent for, by the way, which I should do, but I haven't had any rent from it. If it's already supplied, if it's already, the poles are already there, then the new fibre cables are going to be installed on the existing. This is only for areas that are currently supplied underground trunking. But again, I'm puzzled as to why, if your copper comes in through a conduit underground, a culvert under, why can't the fibre be dragged through that piece of tube as well? I just get the impression it's a quick, cheap fix that they're going for. And I think maybe they do need challenging, but whether it's up to us to challenge it, it's not really within our bailiwick, it's been said a couple of times, to get involved with this. But it's certainly worth perhaps writing a letter and asking a few questions. Because I would have thought, if there's copper in already, it's gone through either a pipe or come up a pole, so the fibre can go in the same way. Why can't it?
Let's draw it to a close because we're not getting anything else added at the moment. I'm going to suggest what I think we should do next. And if there's anything that anybody desperately wants to say that trumps what I'm about to say, then feel free. I think that this town council, I'll move that this town council write to BT Openreach, express that we've had many complaints and ask if they can address the town council directly and send someone. Now, when they started to install fibre in the boxes, if you remember, when they were digging up the pavements about 12, 18 months ago, before this final stage is happening, they did come and address town council then. Do you remember when they did the presentation?
That was Lila, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was.
Lila 5, that's another company.
Okay,
I don't think
it wasn't then. Okay, so let's see,
Well,
pardon,
it's not, so I seem to remember.
was it? Well, let's see if we can get the company, if it is Openreach,
Yeah.
to come and address the town council, or at the very least send a letter back, and then at least our residents can show that we're doing what we can to address their concerns. There's nothing that we can do directly, but at least we can try to hold the company to account. And I think that's probably, in terms of the remit of the town council, the very best that we can do at this stage. So thank you, councillor Kasiki, for bringing this meeting.
Yeah, also
With that,
whether there's any options that involve, different solutions rather than telegraph poles.
yeah, Fab, we'll add that onto the letter to see if they can offer anything different to us.
Yeah, just one anecdotal comment. It's a pity that telecom service providers don't work in the same way as electrical and gas service providers do, where you can have a contract with Octopus, Npower, EDF. They don't come and lay another cable, do they? They use the same cable. But obviously,
Let's see what we come back with. I think within the remit of the town council, that's the very best we can do, and I don't think we can add anything else. Councillor Garvey.
You need a second for that?
I do, thank you
I'll
very
second
much.
that then.
All in favour? Okey-dokey. All right then, Sarah, handed over to you, a bit of an events discussion, so
Yes,
I'll let
please.
you crack on.
Thank you. I think it's useful after we've had a major event within the town to kind of have a bit of a debrief. So I think quite a number of you were here at various different points during the day. So Saturday was our 5th classic vehicle show, I think. 5th. It was probably one of the worst weather days we'd had, but it only rained really badly about 11:30, didn't it? And then we all kind of dried up after that. We think probably there were in excess of 230 vehicles within the high street, which was an increase again. And we coincided the classic vehicle show with the kind of various activities up and down the street with the opening of the town hall frontage. So we had that signed off. There's still quite a bit of paperwork still going on in the background, but that was officially signed off on the Friday. So we opened it on Saturday. And the Deputy Lieutenant for Staffordshire came along, Judy Scott Brief. So she was our King's representative on the day, and she and Councillor Lawton cut the ribbon. That was all very marvellous, wasn't it? So officially opened that. We've had a tremendous amount of very positive feedback as regards the frontage and the mining bricks. And over the past few days, we've seen quite a lot of crying people, haven't we? It's really touched a lot of people. It's, they've got people who are no longer with us on the brick, and it's made a lot of people quite sad, but really powerful as well. So we I think probably always thought that was a lovely idea to add mining bricks, but maybe didn't realise quite the impact that would have when all those names were together. So that's really nice to see. And it's all come together pretty well, but it's whether anybody's kind of has any observations, any feedback.
Two
anything we can-
speakers.
Yeah, up to.
So shall I let them talk on? Of course. Councillor Rogers.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm speaking on behalf of former councillor and Mayor Jim Davis. To be honest, he's asked me to bring it forward to this committee. There's a very big thank you to everybody. Actually, the first one was in 2019, but we had to leave one because of COVID, so it is the 5th show, but the first one was in 2019. It's a massive turnout, as the Chief Officer just said, and it's all down to the staff, the town hall staff, and the volunteers on the day. We couldn't have done it without you all, so it's a very big thank you. It just goes from strength to strength. We did have a little bit of rain, and quite honest, it may have saved the day, because if more had turned up, I don't know what we'd have done with them. So we're going to have a little debrief very soon to find out what we can do in the future. We'll do it again next year. I actually went to another show the day after on the Sunday, and they said, I was in Biddulph yesterday. It was brilliant. And there were shops that didn't know existed. We're going to come back and look in these shops. So it's a win-win for everybody at the moment. So that's just a very big thank you from Jim Davis, really, and myself, of course. And a big thank you to everybody who was involved, volunteers, town hall staff and volunteers, councillors. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I was going to call you Mr. Rogers then, Councillor Rogers. Councillor Yates.
Yes, it was absolutely fantastic day, to be honest, and as was the previous year when we opened the Mosaic Bench. I mean, you know, having two events which are juxtapositioned and slightly different, but it really does make it a very eventful time, so to speak. I'm just wondering what we quickly build and get planning permission for, so we can open something else next year when we do it. I don't know. I think if we do the new memorial garden, it'll be a little bit too far for Judy to walk. So get your thinking caps on, and what can perhaps having the block paving replaced at the bottom of King Street, which I was speaking to the county council about, and we can reopen that for traffic. I don't know.
Very much. Councillor Harper.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, well, I was concerned a little bit, well, more than a little bit. The vehicles turning left when they passed me on the gateway, because I'm talking of heavy goods vehicles like that big army truck, etc., and the Jensen parked on the corner. I mean, it was a bit of skillful driving there, and there was also very hard work by the marshals. And I can't help but think that heavy goods type vehicles, including ice cream carts, should be a slot for them to arrive at the show and put them safely away. Because if there is a crunch on the corner, are we liable? Does our insurance cover that?
Thank you. That's the
first question.
Yeah.
I'll come back later on.
Well, let me just bring Councillor Rogers in there, because I think he's got something to say about that point, and Councillor Jones.
Yeah,
and I'll come back to you.
I can just come back very quick on that, Councillor Jones, please. Yeah, we're having a debrief, and there's things like this being considered, but I arrived here at 7:30 in the morning, and there was cars waiting.
Really?
They weren't told to come that early.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a nightmare. People are coming earlier and earlier. So yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Obviously, fingers crossed, nothing did happen, but it's a consideration for the future. Thank you.
I'm just going to butt in there, just to give you an idea, and you can take this to your debrief. I wasn't there because I was in Chester over the weekend, but I'm just putting my excuses in so you didn't think I was in bed being lazy. I was seeing elephants at Chester Zoo, but anyway, I just wondered if there could be a holding location for vehicles before we allow them on the high street, and potentially we could ask if that could be Knipersley First School, because they've got quite a big yard and car park. I don't know if that's feasible. Don't answer me now. Don't say why or why not now. I'll take it back to your debrief. But just a location where if they are going to start coming earlier, there's a safe place for them to go before they come onto the high street. But I'm not very involved in organising it, and there might be a reason why that can't happen. But just take it back to whoever needs to know. Councillor Jones.
Yeah, just on that, I know you don't want a response now, but I don't think logistically that would be an absolute bloody nightmare. Pardon my French. It would be a nightmare to do that. As regard, the only thing I would say, and I know Wayne's already thought of it, is I don't know what time people were told to come, but they need to be You know, people
Well,
were,
we're told 10 o'clock, not before 10.
people were dutifully turning up at 10 o'clock, and
Well,
like I say,
that's-
people have been arriving since, 7:30, I think. And I think that caused a few problems, but notwithstanding that, I mean, you just juggled it on the day, didn't you? I don't think there was any real mishaps. There was nobody, apart from maybe the Portugal were a bit upset because they turned up very late and then got shoved down Station Road. Well, then, last year they said they were coming and they didn't turn up after Wayne had saved the space for them in Southview for 2 hours, and then they didn't turn up. So, you've got to save that chance, haven't you? I think generally speaking, everybody that came was satisfied, thought it was a good event. And the high street businesses, particularly the food outlets, were doing a storm. And I think I thought, well, perhaps we need more food outlets, but no, we don't, because I think let the high street food shops supply the food. They were doing really good trade in the high street. And I think it was, I've missed the last couple. I came to the first one. I missed the last couple. I had a thoroughly good day on Saturday. And as Councillor Yates says, it's not very often you get a chance to stand in the middle of the road for a couple of hours. And I was stood on the corner of Southview, King Street and the High Street with Councillor Yates. And you standing there, you realise for a while how bad the road is. And it was quite refreshing to be able to grab hold of the county council and just point out brick by brick what was needed. So we'll see if that action comes out of that.
Why couldn't grab the previous county councillor, point out brick by brick?
The previous county council had some emergency repairs done, but we won't have the money after getting the bypass resurfaced.
Yeah. So I think all in all, a rounding success. Thanks to Jim, thanks to you, Wayne, and I was just one of the volunteers, and it was cracking event. Well done to the town, the offices of the council, and everybody. It was a cracking event, really first class. And despite the weather, it wasn't so good, really. But well done all.
Thank you, councillor Hart.
I haven't answered the question, are we covered by insurance if there's a crunch?
Are we covered by insurance for the crunch? No.
Are we covered?
No, cars will be there, won't they?
Oh, no.
They choose to come and park.
Comment on the car.
Yeah, but if our marshals are directing and there's a toucher.
Same with the.
Well, you still should be aware of your vehicle, shouldn't you? You're in control of your vehicle, not your marshals.
Absolutely.
Well, it's up to you. I mean, that's it. The other thing, despite telling the drivers where to go for registration, there was quite a few wandering about and coming back, asking again for registration. Now, I knew where it was. I think, I know. All the marshals knew where it was. But was there a banner registration? I'll wait till he finished.
Tell you what we'll do, councillor Harper, is I'll ask Sarah to make a note of your point. I'm sure Sarah and Jodie will be involved in the debrief. And I will ask for your points to be discussed in the debrief, because now is not the forum, if that's all right.
Oh, right, I thought this was an input into what
Input into the debrief, not the actual debrief. So this is just talking about the events that have happened. So your wonderful observations that you've just made will go into the
there's
debrief.
more.
Well, what I will ask you to do then, is pop them in an email to Jodie. So Jodie can take them forward to the debrief, or Jodie will give you the date of the debrief and you can turn up and ask them there yourself. Is that all right?
Blended. It'll
Marvellous.
give me more time to put things together.
Marvellous. We're on the same page.
One last one, I've got to mention it.
Go on.
I did get complaints from one or two of the marshals, there was not enough sarnies, because when they went, run out. I've got to mention that one.
You can't have volunteers working on an empty stomach.
Absolutely.
Right, thank you.
A second what is
Trays? I think we need five
Trays of sarnies, right?
I think there was an awful lot of volunteers turned up. Actually, it was exempt. The amount of volunteers was absolutely brilliant. And, you can't turn any volunteers away and you don't want to. The risk of, fall off.
So can I just ask that we have a formal vote of thanks to
Absolutely.
ex-mayor, Jim Davies, whose brainchild it is, and also to the officers of the town council and all the volunteers. If you could just put that formally on.
Can I
the
just-
board.
Can I amend that, Chair?
Yeah.
Also include the deputy lieutenant.
Yeah.
Go for turning it.
Yeah, so can we all vote in favour of that? So, and can we write a letter to Jim Davies in particular and the Lord Lieutenant, just to thank them for coming along, and, well, Lord Lieutenant, thank them for coming along. Jim
Deputy.
Davies, thank you for
Deputy.
organising.
Well-
Deputy,
Yeah.
yes, marvellous. Right, thanks very much. Next on the agenda then is Christmas.
I know it's, yeah, I know. Doesn't it feel terrible? to say that? 100 days today, there we are. So as you would expect, all of our permissions for various things have already gone in months and months ago. Because that's how Eon work. Our Christmas light switch on in the town centre is on the 29th of November, quite late again this year. We want to seek your views, I think, on whether there are any changes to make to that event itself. Do you want to continue to offer free food and activities for families that we have done in the past? You can kind of have some discussions about this because I suspect we probably need to resurrect the events working group to discuss the detail. But what I'd like you to think about as well is that we have a lovely new town square. So wouldn't it be nice to do some nice Christmas events there?
Absolutely.
That can look however you want it to look, but obviously we don't want to be planning that in 2 months' time. It needs to be kind of on the cards now and dates in the calendar. I don't know what the plan is for Biddulph Mall. Is there a plan for Biddulph Mall?
Okay.
Fine, okay.
Councillor Garvey.
Yes, I think we need a formal proposal that we revive the events working group and have a schedule a meeting at the earliest possible opportunity to at least lay down the groundwork for the Christmas.
Can we have a vote for that? And are you going to move it and someone seconds? Councillor Rogers is seconding the resurrection of the working group. They're all in favour of resurrection of the working group. Marvellous, thank you. Councillor Rogers.
That's right. I was like, taking the words out of my mouth.
Okay.
Okay,
Councillor Garvey got there first. In terms of just an idea for the outdoor square, I think what would be really nice if there was a food market of benches and tables where people could sit and socialise. I don't think lots of places, a very small scale, kind of Manchester outdoor Christmas market type thing, where there's not just crafty stuff, which we tend to do inside, or we could, but just a social space, because that's what we wanted that square to be. And it'd be nice if we're not just using it to buy stuff, which we could also do, but to kind of socialise and drink and have a mince pie and a glass of mulled wine and a bit of a Christmas snack. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, we'll look at that.
Yeah,
that's a nice idea.
One thing I would want to say about the Christmas light switch on, and I was a marshal last time-ish. I dashed out from the kitchen. It was a nightmare getting Santa Claus along.
Yeah,
it was the people stood all. It just didn't work. It wasn't. It was just awful. And we need to do that better if we can. I don't know if you can come in round the back. Now we've got that square. If you could come in on John Street and park and walk through. I don't know if that'd be safer than getting through that crowd at the front, but we need to do something about that, because you just could not get people out of the way to let them through.
I think that's true. I think.
Go on.
I think now that public space has more space in the town centre.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to be in.
Stand there.
I know the kids will be in the road, obviously, to get inside the stand.
Yeah.
If you think about one of the issues here, whenever there's an event at the front previously,
There's nowhere.
everybody was in the road.
Yeah.
I noticed on Saturday that people were in this space.
Yeah.
This space was really busy.
Yeah.
It was the opening, but this space was busy and there was much less people on the road.
Yeah.
I noticed that. And I suspect that might happen at Christmas.
Yeah.
It's my view.
And unless we have it properly, that bit just, because I don't know how it happened where we had to shift people out of it. So maybe if we can have some more visible fencing. I don't know. We'll discuss that at the working group. That's what it's there for. Right, Councillor Yates, Councillor Jones.
Yeah, I think picking up on what Councillor Hopkins says and just being, aware of that fact if we come to plan like food and mulled wine and whatever, and making sure that we do retain quite a lot of space there.
On the same night.
On the Christmas. Oh, right. Okay. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
I will say is that, you sometimes think, yes, it's a big space. Then you think, oh, it'll soon fill up if you put gazebos. Those gazebos on the back of it, and there was quite a substantial row of them. They were lost in that space. That space is absolutely massive. It's absolutely fine. So you could put an L shape there and run sort of complementary events without actually encroaching the line of sight where people would go, and it'd still be off the road. I think it's far too late, and obviously finances would have to be planned to change anything really for the Christmas lights this time. But I think now we've got the square, which is very much a focal point. I think having some kind of, better Christmas lights display around the frontage to support that, even because nowadays you can do laser displays bouncing off things, can't you, as opposed to actual physical lights, so they don't have to be tremendously expensive. But I think what we should be looking at now is planning, 15, 16 months ahead to what we can really do to sell this space and actually have it as a magnet for the town centre for the Christmas period, and perhaps not overextending what we've got and consolidating into the focal point. You always run the risk of people at either end saying they've forgotten, but the reality of it is that you get people into the town centre and then they migrate if there's a good offer at either end, so to speak, and this has got to be a focal point for that.
Thank you, councillor Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'll just, a note of caution really, I don't think you can have quite as much space as you think you're going to have for Christmas, because you're going to have a tree in the middle. The tree's going to have 4 guy ropes on it, guy wires on it, going to anchors. So you're going to have a 6 metre square in the middle of that square. So all you're going to have is a peripheral area around the tree. The time that's been fenced off as well, so people don't fall over the wires. I'm just going on the experience of Biltmore that we've had with the tree. Although no wires were put on it last year, we managed to sneak that one under the wire.
Did you?
We did, yeah. It got forgotten about, and it didn't break. It didn't fall over like it has for the last 25 years. Anyway,
That this year.
yes, I know. I knew you would. So I'm just saying there might not be quite as much space for the Christmas lights as we actually think.
Yeah.
Wires.
You've got to have a big square in the middle to stop people falling over them wires. Has there been permanent anchors placed for the wires? Of
No,
course there have.
no, they haven't.
Oh,
No, I feel like I want to show you where the Christmas tree
I know
would go,
where
and
it
in the
is.
hole.
The whole bill.
I've seen the hole. I've seen the lid on the hole. It looks fantastic. We've seen it up and you.
Oh, it's all whizzy. It clamps it
Really
together.
impressed. Clamping.
Stop it standing off though, is it?
Guy ropes then. So that we won't have a, sorry, to the
Yeah,
chair.
no, there'll have to be a periphery around it.
Why is it not going to need any wires?
It's really deep.
It's not going to snap it off. Stop it snapping it off.
Wires aren't.
It's good. Well, I say that, but this is why we have to have wires halfway up the tree, built more.
Yeah, Biltmore's 1,000 foot in this.
What's that?
21 years.
I'm just going to go on. To be fair to councillor Harper, let's take this to the working group when
I should be there.
with bells on,
With bells
or
on.
wires.
Bells on. Yeah.
Right, thank you very much.
I mean, double standards.
Right, next one is to receive an update on the mining oral history project.
Yes, so we talked about this before as part of the kind of conclusion of our celebration of mining. Obviously, we continue to celebrate mining, but we've had quite a focus on it over the past 18 months with regards to the various different heritage projects. So we're working with a consultant that's part of the outside group, the Outside Arts Project, and we are inviting local residents to drop in and share their memories of mining in the town. And we're going to record their memories. So we're going to have an oral history project as part of that. So initially we'll collect those stories and those kind of bits of interest that would be forgotten, and then and we'll bring this back to you for your consideration another time. We hope to be able to do a kind of display of those. So they've done some lovely projects with the textile industry in Leek, where they've had a kind of a model mill, I think it was described to me as, and you kind of opened the doors on the mill and you heard different voices coming out. So that kind of bring it all to life. And the team, which is made up mostly of volunteers who've been trained in kind of recording and documenting these stories, will be at the town hall on Saturday, the 8th of November. So it's kind of drop in between 10 and 2. But if you know anybody in particular who you think should come along to that, or if we can support them to come along to that, then that would be marvellous. And then we'll collect those memories forever.
Councillor Yates?
Yes, sort of related, but something which has just sprung into my mind. I'm the Staffordshire Moorlands District Council representative on the Industrial Communities Alliance, which grew out of the old coalfields during the 1980s when the when they were closing, and there was a lot of regeneration projects going on, and they're very closely associated with the Coalfield Regeneration Trust. It's this Staffordshire Moors District Council's turn to host them in July next year. And I was talking to the secretary today, because we're just going through some agenda items, and I'd like to invite them to hold the meeting at Biddulph instead of over in Leek, because Biddulph's got the industrial heritage of the mining town, and the fact that we've done that, you'll have delegates from all round all the old coalfields and industrial areas, steel, coal related. They will be so impressed with that. 17th of July, I was going to talk to you about it, is the date.
Can I just formally ask this committee whether they'd support having that meeting here, but we'll give Sarah the authority to work on it and dedicate some time to that. That'd be great, I think, if it was held here. So all
Really would fly flag for
all in favour of Sarah working on holding that meeting here along with Councillor Yates. Marvellous, thank you. I'll forgive you for that not being agenda item.
Sort of related.
Right, thank you very much. Update on the chain reaction project.
So you'll be aware that we put in a bid to UK Cycling to support some of the activities that we wanted to do as a wider Staffs and Moorlands partnership. We didn't hear back from them for ages, and then were declined the funding. And then when I've asked for a debrief on that, they've said the time delay was on their side. It was a strong application. They have funded councils before, but Staffordshire is a satellite area, so we would only be considered for funding if there was any left.
Oh,
yeah. But they've talked about next year, if we applied earlier, which was hard this year because we'd only set up the project kind of after the start of the application process. And they hoped to be able to process the application more quickly. But we could consider becoming a community cycle club. So we're going to have a little look at that to see what that involves, and then I'll bring a bit more information back to you then. But we've had a kind of partners meeting, and we've got some dates for the diary. We are proposing to host an event on the 11th of October at the town hall here on the frontage, where Gemma from Waste Service Staffs from the county council will basically drop off a load of bikes that find their way to the household recycling centres that are just in perfect condition but just not loved by current owners, and they'll drop them off here on the Friday, and then we'll basically get people to come and take them away on the Saturday. We'll ask for a small donation there, which will then hopefully, when the people like Moorlands Climate Action or our repair cafe, when they repair bikes for the future, we'll be able to provide them with some of the consumables like inner tubes and whatever else bikes need. So we'll be able to fund that element through the donations from the bikes. There's a kind of disclaimer process where people will just basically say they've taken it as seen rather than kind of being provided with a guarantee. So that'll be on the 11th of October. Cheadle have got an event on the 26th of October, so we'll promote that as soon as we get some information from them. We're trying to promote the different activities around the district. We've talked about having a half-term event, which Outside will lead on. And that will be a kind of ride the lights kind of event. So we'll start at Neighbourhood and get loads of lights for bikes and give away more bikes there. And then we'll all ride the tracks with lots of lights everywhere. Oh, yes, that'd be very nice. That'll be on the Monday, the 27th of October. I think that's probably all I need to tell you about for now. But we've got some dates in the diary. We're trying to keep the momentum going with regards to the chain reaction project and keep things going all the way through the year. Outside are looking at potentially whether they can do a kind of cycling festival in the spring. So we've started to have some discussions about that as well.
Can you do us a little favour?
Yeah.
I know you normally do this anyway. Just pop all these on an email for us.
Will do. Yeah. I need to, well, on another note, actually, I need to put a load of working groups in calendars. So I thought I'll stick those in everyone's diary and then send you out an email with all the dates for the next 6 or 8 weeks.
Thank you, Fab. Councillor Yates.
Yeah, following the cycle challenge to London, which sort of precipitated a lot of this, Wayne's been haranguing me, and we're looking at doing another sponsored cycle ride, which we were thinking autumn, but it's a little bit quick, in spring, potentially, if the mayor's in agreement to support the mayor's charities, where a little bit like the Knipersley 7K race, we attract people for an entrance fee. Like say something like minimum sponsorship £10 or something, so you can either get sponsorship and eventually grow, or £10 to enter. Then we're looking at doing a 40K circuit, which means it's accessible for a lot more people. Again, using the canal network and avoiding roads, and having it before the end of if the mayor's in agreement, having it before the end of the mayoral year, which is when the good weather comes. So we should coordinate with that. And then if that sort of works, is seeing if we can sort of run that as a sort of, annual event, so to speak, because it's relatively straightforward, Obviously, time's being against us a little bit. There's some with individual things, but I think spring has that lull to actually do that, and it would help to keep the momentum going, because to draw people in from a wider area, wouldn't it, Wayne?
Yeah.
Asking him or me, the mayor's quite excited.
Just ask a question on that. Would you be, just so the officers are aware, you can ask the question, how much town council support would you need to run that event? Who would deal with the entrance, the entrance for it? How to coordinate off? Who would man the marshal it, all that jazz?
We have been offered some marshalling, haven't we? I'm not going to say who.
But we have been offered marshal,
Yeah, we have been offered marshalling. Generally speaking, there are a couple of, there's always going to be a few marshalling points, and the marshalling points would actually be out of Biddle, so to speak, because we could potentially start on Smoky's Way or at the school like we did last time, so there would be a little bit of involvement there. But obviously a marshalling point is Burnley Forward to be a marshalling point at Kidsgrove, but otherwise it's just following particular tracks.
Who would be responsible for the admin for it?
We could go with that.
Well, I just want to know, because what I don't want to do is we either make it a town council event and agree that as a committee, and then we can expect the officers to support that, or it's your event that's raising money for them, and we need to make the distinction between.
I don't like putting work on people. I think if you come up with a suggestion, you've got to be prepared to put the effort in yourself. However, if the town council, a little bit like the car show, I suppose, if it was publicised like that and you were getting entries, and it's just a case of collating, because it's a case of coming on the day. If they turn up on the day, like the car does, they go. If they don't, they don't. So I don't think it has to be that heavy.
What I would suggest that you do is if you need any town council support, bring it back to the committee so that we can formally approve it, because also you're going to need things like public liability insurance and all that sort of stuff.
Like the car show has.
Well, I don't know if it has or not. Well, it has, because it's under the umbrella of the town council.
Yeah, then.
But yeah, if you think, like, for example, Biddulph Running Club do their race at night to the pool, that's done under the club umbrella, and they've got public liability insurance. I'm not poo-pooing it, I'm just saying that we just need to make a distinction. So if you want to bring it back to this committee as a separate agenda item,
Okay.
then that would be wonderful. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's a really good idea, but I think we just need to do it formally.
Body bag.
Town council event. Right, Councillor Rogers.
Yeah, it's just, like a chair, it's just in brief ideas at the moment. We obviously need the support of Biddulph Town Council, but it wouldn't be a big job for Town Council as we see it at this moment in time. You pick your application form from the front desk, you get your own sponsors, you bring your money back.
If you don't want sponsors, you just pay £10 entry fee. It is, you self-sponsor.
Let's just park it, because it wasn't part of the agenda item.
Okay, yeah.
It's a really good idea. Bring it back to this committee when you thought about it a bit more. Is that all right?
Yeah, fine.
Thank you. Councillor Garvey.
Thank you. Just picking up on the chain reaction activities. The 3 woolly bikes that were promoting the chain reaction, 2 of them have been withdrawn temporarily to be woollied. Yes, basically. And to have new signs put on them, because the signs had basically fallen apart. One's still out in Biddulph Moor, but the other 2 will be returning to somewhere in the town in the next week or so.
Thank you very much. That's on my thanks. The ladies, and I think they are all ladies.
They are all ladies now, yes.
But,
I've given up on that.
Just to comment on that, do you think it'd be more impactful to retire them for winter, not being funny, and then put them back to promote the fact that there's a new event happening? Because otherwise it just come part, as spectacular as they are, but they just become part of the landscape and almost become invisible within the landscape. I notice it when I go, ooh, but I think, to bring them back, you bring them back because there's a purpose coming, and obviously the winter season gates that, and if there's going to be a a spring chain reaction event, would actually fit in with that.
Happy to do that if that's what people want. Essentially, they were there, they put their promotion initially for a promotional
Yeah.
item for your cycle ride.
Yeah, did both verbally well.
And quite happy just to leave them at the end of my garage over the winter and bring them back out again for the spring as a specific promotional item, if that's what would be better. It depends. I mean, so they were there to advertise the chain reaction program as a whole. So
Well, we've still got events going on though, haven't we?
So-
I would suggest that we go for plan A.
bring them out till we've had the events in October and then retire them in October, at the end of October,
That's
and
fine.
bring them back out in the spring.
Yeah.
So a combination of both.
Yes,
Okay, thank you very much. I will pass that on to
right, marvellous.
the ladies.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda 25, to receive an update on Martin's Law. And a project group should be established to consider implications of the town council.
Lovely. So I sent you the link, which is the to the NALC website, which gives a little overview of that. So Martin's Law obviously is otherwise known as the Terrorism Protection of Premises Act. And it's basically a way to help manage potential terrorist attacks within public spaces. It's come after the tragedies at Manchester Arena, and it will affect Biddulph Town Council because we do have large venue here and we attract large numbers for some of our events within the town centre. This means we need to think about how we manage people, their movement through the sites. We do already have comprehensive events management plan. Marshals have briefings and the like. It might be that we need to consider having more formal security arrangements in place for some of the bigger activities. We need to think about the flow of people through this building as well. So evacuation from this building is fairly straightforward and we practice that regularly, but actually we need to think about invacuation, which would be keeping people safe here from any harm outside, and how we would move people through this building should we need to do that. So there is some work for us to do in terms of the dates. It only came more in April and the expected start date is spring 27. So we've got a decent lead in to put these things in place, but actually, as I say, we do a number of large scale events and we absolutely wouldn't want to just start it in 27. We need to get moving with that. I think because there are some kind of more intricate details in terms of how we move people through the building, how we manage people within the town centre, it's probably better dealt with by a small project group that have an interest in that and kind of want to mull over some of those issues. So if you're happy, I'll kind of set up a date for that and hopefully.
Yeah. I'll just get a couple of speakers and then we'll formally vote for that. Councillor Harper.
Thank you, Chair. It says here, you know, what we need to know. Have we consulted our solicitor? Because, you know, with the best will in the world, we're amateurs. And a solicitor looking at the act, I think, will be able to pinpoint what the council needs or should have in place. That's my question, basically. Have we considered a solicitor's advice?
If I may, I don't think it's necessary in this case. There is reams and reams of reading to be had on this, lots of good practice, and every town and parish council is considering this, as are much bigger organisations as well. So it affects everybody. Our solicitor is only going to pull the advice together that we could already access as well. And we organise events on a weekly, monthly basis, so we've got good experience of knowing how people move through areas and where our potential risk areas are. And that's the sort of conversations we need to be having. You know, if you were going to drive a car at speed into an event, a high street full of people, how would you do that? How would we prevent that? It's those kind of discussions that actually us with our local knowledge could help to develop a solution for.
Councillor Rogers.
Thank you, Chair. It's a sad world in some ways that these things happen, but unfortunately, as it says, it's a law. We've got to abide to it. So we've got to work with it. It's one of them, it'll never happen here. How many times have you heard that? So we must take it serious and work with it. So we need a working group. Thank you very much.
So all in favour of the working group as per the agenda item? Okay, that's carried.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is to receive an update on the town council's role within a participatory action research project involving young people. I'm quite happy to sit here for this because it's all been decided without me and my involvement at the town council end and my involvement at the university end. I'm just declaring that I work at the university. It's actually got nothing to do with me. So I'm just making that clear. Sarah.
So we brought to you previously the prospect of applying for the Know Your Place. It's a youth-led movement in Staffordshire where we basically work with young people, and it's a 5-year project to give young people a platform, the tools and the power to make meaningful changes in their community, and we've been successful. So there is funding attached to that, and quite intense training over the next few months, which Jodie and I'll attend. And then we'll bring back updates on that and hopefully move forward and provide a real voice for Biddulph people and the wider area.
Congratulations, I would say. Can we just thank the officers for putting together that bid? It was very competitive, I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so thank the officers for putting together that bid. Great that you've been successful and excited to see it move forward. Thank you very much.
I may just say, actually, there's only 9 projects in the country that were successful.
Yeah. Fantastic. It had a little bit of funding attached to it as well, I think, didn't
Yes,
it? Yeah.
£5,000.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Marvellous. Well done.
But never mind the bikes, they've moved off.
To receive an update on the Library of Things.
Yes, so we were given a slight extension to start the project by the County Council, thank goodness, because we weren't really, obviously with the frontage going, and we weren't ready to then introduce a Library of Things setting to people when they couldn't actually get to
That's
it.
next summer, isn't it? Library of Things, official launch. We could soft launch it before then and have a...
Oh no, we've got to do it now.
All right, okay.
So we're in the process of getting a logo together, getting the signage together, buying the IT package, because there's kind of a booking process, and investing in streamers and all that sort of stuff. So we had £4,500 from the County Council to set the project up, which actually we can do quite easily. It's very generous in terms of what we need to make that work. And we're hoping the first Library of Things items will be launched during October. So we'll let you know more about that as well. But we feel confident we can meet the deadlines of the County Council in terms of spending the funding that they've given to us and demonstrating that. So very positive.
Thank you very much for your hard work on that then.
Thank you.
Councillor Smith in her absence for bringing it to the table a few years ago. Marvellous, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Confidential items, so we'll say goodbye to the people at home and we'll crack on for the last item on the agenda.